Imagine for a moment that a coin from 1940, a simple 1-cent wheat penny, the kind most people wouldn't even bend down to pick up off the sidewalk today, could actually change your entire life. This isn't some exaggerated story or wild guess. This is the reality of how rare errors in coins have made collectors and everyday people thousands upon thousands of dollars richer. The 1940 wheat penny, with certain rare and extraordinary minting errors, has proven that what looks like an ordinary cent can actually carry a value between $70,000 to an astonishing $160,000, depending on its condition, rarity, and the type of error. So what makes this coin so special? Why is it that something minted over 80 years ago could still spark such a frenzy among collectors and auction houses today? Let's walk through the fascinating journey of this little copper piece of history and uncover how it has turned from pocket change into a life-changing fortune. To appreciate the 1940 wheat penny, we have to go back to the time when it was minted. The year 1940 was an uncertain one, with the world already caught in the turmoil of World War II. The United States had not yet entered the war, but preparations and tensions were growing. Money was precious and every cent had value. The penny in circulation at the time was the Lincoln wheat cent, a design introduced in 1909 to commemorate Abraham Lincoln's 100th birthday. Its design was iconic. On the obverse, the profile of Abraham Lincoln, and on the reverse, 2 wheat stalks framing the words 1 cent and United States of America. This wheat design became one of the most recognizable and enduring symbols of American coinage. Millions of 1940 pennies were minted, but as is often the case with coins, it isn't the common ones that excite collectors. It's the rare mistakes. This is where the magic of the 1940 penny begins. Errors during minting are what transform an ordinary coin into an extraordinary treasure. In 1940, minting technology was not as advanced as it is today, which meant errors occurred more frequently. Strikes that were slightly off, double dies where the design was imprinted twice, clipped planchets where the coin was missing part of its edge, or even transitional metal errors could occur. Each error created a unique variation, and collectors today search tirelessly for these rare versions. A 1940 penny with a double die obverse, for example, where Lincoln's profile or the date appears doubled, is one of the most sought after and can command prices well beyond 6 figures at auction. The fascinating part about coins like the 1940 wheat penny is that most of these errors went unnoticed at the time. People didn't examine their pennies under magnifying glasses. They were too busy living through wartime struggles, rationing goods, and preparing for uncertain futures. For them, a penny was just a penny, a small part of everyday life. But fast forward decades later, and those unnoticed minting mistakes have become the gold mines of numismatics. Collectors and enthusiasts will pay staggering amounts to own a coin that only exists in a handful of examples, one of which could still be sitting in an old jar of change in someone's attic. Now, let's talk about the real draw, the value. Imagine holding a penny in your hand that could be worth between $70,000 and $160,000. That's not just impressive, it's almost unbelievable. Coins with this kind of valuation aren't just sold quietly between collectors. They make headlines. Auction houses light up with excitement, and bidding wars break out as collectors compete to own a piece of history. The reason for such high prices is simple: scarcity combined with demand. When only a few rare error coins exist, every serious collector wants one, and the price skyrockets. It's no different than owning a rare piece of art or a classic car. Stories from collectors and everyday people who stumbled upon such coins only fuel the fascination. Imagine going through an old collection left behind by a grandparent and finding a 1940 wheat penny that looks a little different. Maybe the date seems slightly doubled, or the edge isn't quite right. What seems like a minor detail could translate to tens of thousands of dollars. This is why numismatics, the study and collection of coins, is so captivating. It's part history, part treasure hunt, and part investment. The thrill of finding one rare coin keeps people searching through jars, rolls of pennies, and dusty old boxes for years. Beyond the monetary value, the 1940 wheat penny also holds deep historical importance. Think of the stories it could tell if it could speak. Passed from hand to hand in a grocery store, a diner, or maybe a movie theater during the early 1940s, that penny traveled through lives shaped by the challenges of the Great Depression's aftermath and the looming war. Owning one today feels like holding a tiny time capsule, a direct connection to a very different America. Collectors often say that the true beauty of coins lies not only in their metal or rarity, but in the history they represent. A penny like this isn't just currency. It's a story, a fragment of human experience frozen in copper. Now let's imagine what finding one could mean for you today. You might casually check your change and see a 1940 penny. Most people would dismiss it. After all, it's just 1 cent, right? But those who know what to look for, those who understand that errors can make a coin worth a fortune, could find themselves holding something worth between $70,000 and $160,000. That's the equivalent of winning a small lottery, and it's all hidden in plain sight. This is why collectors encourage everyone to take a closer look at their change, especially older coins. Because who knows, your next grocery store purchase could leave you with a penny that transforms your financial future. When you think about it, it's truly remarkable. The 1940 wheat penny was minted in the millions, but it's the rare, flawed few that captivate us. In a way, it reflects something deeper about life itself, that sometimes it's our imperfections that make us most valuable. The flawed, unique, and one-of-a-kind are what stand out, and that truth applies to coins just as much as it does to people. Collectors chase after these flawed pennies not only because they're worth money, but because they represent the unexpected beauty and value hidden in mistakes. So, whether you're a seasoned collector or someone just hearing about rare coins for the first time, the 1940 wheat penny serves as a powerful reminder. Value can hide in the smallest, most ordinary-looking things. All it takes is a careful eye, a bit of curiosity, and maybe a touch of luck. And the reward? It could be life-changing, with a simple 1-cent coin fetching as much as $160,000. As you go about your day, think about the change in your pocket, the coins sitting in your drawer, or the jars collecting dust in your home. One of those coins could be the rare gem that collectors dream about, the one that transforms a penny into a prize. The 1940 wheat penny isn't just about copper, minting errors, or even money. It's about history, legacy, and the endless possibilities of discovery. After all, if something as small as a penny can hold such power, who knows what else in your life might be hiding untapped value, just waiting to be uncovered. The 1944 1-cent wheat penny error is one of the most fascinating stories in the history of American coinage, and what makes it so special is the combination of history, rarity, and sheer luck that surrounds it. At first glance, the coin seems ordinary, just another wheat penny like millions that were produced during the World War II years. But in reality, this particular coin is anything but ordinary. It carries a mistake so rare that collectors all over the world have chased it for decades, and the value of this small copper piece can range anywhere from $66,000 to $150,000 depending on its condition and the circumstances of its discovery. To understand why the 1944 wheat penny error is so important, you need to go back to the early 1940s. The United States was deep into World War II, and resources were being stretched thin. Metals like copper were critical to the war effort because they were used in ammunition and military equipment. Because of this, the U.S. Mint decided in 1943 to change the composition of the penny. Instead of using copper, pennies that year were struck from zinc-coated steel, a material that conserved copper for the war. These steel cents were lighter, silver gray in color, and magnetic. Millions were produced and released into circulation. But the public didn't love them. They were often confused with dimes, and they rusted easily. In 1944, the mint reverted back to using copper for pennies, this time melting down spent shell casings from the war to strike them. Most 1944 pennies were made with this recycled copper, but a few steel planchets left over from 1943 somehow got stuck in the minting machines. As a result, some 1944 pennies were struck on steel planchets instead of copper. That's the error, and that's where the story gets truly remarkable. Finding a 1944 steel wheat penny is like finding a needle in a haystack. There were only a handful ever struck, and only a few dozen examples are known to exist today. For collectors, this error is the stuff of legend. The 1944 steel wheat penny represents a transition, a mistake created during one of the most pivotal years in American history, and it's this combination of rarity and historical significance that makes it so valuable. Now here's where the excitement really begins. Most people think of a penny as almost worthless. It's the coin people leave in change trays, the one that slips under car seats or gets lost in couches. But the 1944 wheat penny error changes that perception completely. A coin that was supposed to be worth just 1 cent can instead fetch between $66,000 and $150,000 when it shows up at auctions. That kind of leap in value is mind-blowing, and it's why so many collectors and treasure hunters are obsessed with this coin. Think about it. Someone could be holding onto an old wheat penny without realizing its potential. Could be hiding in a jar of coins passed down from a grandparent, or sitting in a box of collectibles from years past. One person's pocket change could turn into someone else's life-changing discovery. That's what makes the 1944 wheat penny error so thrilling. It's not just a rare coin, it's a real-life treasure hunt. Stories of people discovering these coins have spread like wildfire. Imagine the shock of realizing that the penny you've had for years, perhaps even decades, is worth more than some luxury cars or even a down payment on a house. One lucky finder who sold their 1944 steel cent at auction walked away with 6 figures in profit, simply because they had the right coin at the right time. That sense of possibility keeps people searching through wheat pennies to this day. What makes this coin even more legendary is its link to history. Every 1944 penny carries with it the story of America in wartime, of sacrifice, resourcefulness, and change. And the error coins struck on steel embody that history even more. They are the physical proof of a transition, of the mistakes that happen when a nation is stretched to its limits. Owning one isn't just owning a coin, it's holding onto a tangible piece of that history. Collectors also value this penny because it's not easy to fake. The combination of being struck in 1944 but on leftover 1943 steel planchets makes it an incredibly specific error. It's magnetic, unlike the copper cents of 1944, and it has the distinct look of steel. This means that if you do happen to come across one, you can quickly tell it apart from the regular copper wheat pennies by simply testing it with a magnet. That little test has led to more than one jaw-dropping discovery. And then, of course, there are the auctions. When a 1944 steel wheat penny hits the auction block, the room buzzes with anticipation. Collectors know how few exist, and they know that every opportunity to own one is rare. Bidding wars erupt, and the final hammer price often leaves people stunned. That's how these pennies have consistently sold for $66,000 to $150,000, depending on condition. The better preserved the coin, the higher the price, and the more intense the bidding. But beyond the numbers and the prices, there's something poetic about the story of the 1944 wheat penny error. It's a reminder that even in the most ordinary places, extraordinary treasures can be found. It tells us that mistakes can become miracles, that something overlooked or forgotten can turn into something priceless. The 1944 wheat penny teaches us to look closer, to pay attention, and to never dismiss the smallest details, because sometimes the smallest details hold the greatest value. For collectors, the thrill of searching through old wheat pennies never gets old. Every jar of coins, every inherited collection, every dusty box in the attic carries the hope that a rare 1944 steel penny might be hidden inside. It's this dream, this constant chase for hidden treasure, that keeps the hobby alive and exciting. And the 1944 era penny stands at the very top of that dream, a holy grail for collectors worldwide. So the next time you come across a wheat penny from the 1940s, don't just toss it aside. Check the date. Test it with a magnet. Study it carefully, because if it happens to be one of those elusive 1944 steel wheat pennies, you could be holding on to a fortune worth between $66,000 and $150,000. That little coin could change your life in ways you never imagined. The story of the 1944 wheat penny error proves that history isn't just something you read in books. It's something you can hold in your hand, something that still circulates among us in small, unexpected ways. And it reminds us all that treasures don't always come in the form of gold or jewels. Sometimes, they come in the form of a simple penny, a penny that carries the weight of history, the thrill of discovery, and the power to transform 1 cent into 6 figures of pure value. In the world of coins, there are some pieces that seem so ordinary at first glance that most people would pass them by without giving them a second thought. The US 1-cent wheat penny is one of those coins. For decades, it was just another small piece of copper jingling around in pockets and cash registers, easy to overlook and rarely given the respect it deserved. But every now and then, History throws a curveball, and what seems common suddenly becomes extraordinary. The 1948 1-cent wheat penny with rare minting errors is exactly that kind of treasure, and collectors have been captivated by it for years. While most of these pennies are worth only a few cents over face value, certain error coins from 1948 have shocked the numismatic community by selling for anywhere between $60,000 and $140,000. That's the kind of transformation that makes the hunt for these coins so thrilling, because it reminds us that even something as small and humble as a penny can hold unimaginable value. To understand why the 1948 penny matters, you have to look at its roots. This coin belongs to the legendary Lincoln Wheat Penny series, which ran from 1909 to 1958. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the Lincoln cent was the first regular U.S. coin to feature a real person, Abraham Lincoln, on the obverse. The reverse carried 2 wheat stalks framing the words 1 cent and United States of America. It was simple, bold, and instantly recognizable. Over time, the wheat penny became a staple of American coinage, and collectors today still consider it one of the most nostalgic and iconic designs in U.S. history. By 1948, the country was just a few years removed from World War II, the economy was shifting, and coins like the penny were being produced in massive quantities. But even with high production numbers, mistakes still slipped through, and those mistakes are the reason a coin from 1948 can sometimes command life-changing amounts of money. Minting errors take many forms. Some involve double die obverse, where the inscriptions or images appear doubled because of a misalignment during the die creation process. Others involve off-center strikes, where the coin wasn't properly centered between the dies during minting, leaving a portion of the design missing. There are even dramatic cases of coins being struck on the wrong planchet, meaning a penny might end up struck on a dime's blank. In 1948, several of these types of errors occurred, though only a few examples have been found and verified. Because of their rarity, collectors treat them like priceless artifacts, and the market reflects that, with values ranging from $60,000 to $140,000 depending on the error type and the condition of the coin. Think about that for a second. A penny that most people would drop on the ground and not bother to pick up has been sold for the price of a luxury car, a small house, or a college education. That kind of contrast between perceived value and actual worth is what makes the story of the 1948 error penny so engaging. It isn't just a coin. It's a symbol of hidden wealth and overlooked opportunities. Every time you come across an old wheat penny, the possibility exists that you might be holding one of these extraordinary treasures. Collectors love to tell the stories of how these coins have been discovered. Some were found in change decades ago, tucked away and forgotten until someone realized what they truly had. Others have surfaced at estate sales, sitting in old jars or boxes of coins saved by people who had no idea of their potential worth. It's the kind of discovery that turns an ordinary day into an unforgettable one. Picture someone pouring out a jar of wheat pennies, thinking they might be worth a few dollars altogether, only to realize that one coin in that pile could fetch up to $140,000 at auction. That single moment can change everything. Of course, the value of an error penny like the 1948 wheat cent depends heavily on condition. Coins that are crisp, with sharp details and minimal wear, will always attract the highest bids. That's why collectors often send their coins to professional grading services like PCGS or NGC. A certified grade not only confirms the authenticity of the error, but also provides confidence to buyers willing to spend large sums of money. The higher the grade, the closer that coin gets to reaching the upper end of its value, right around that incredible $140,000 mark. But it's not just the money that makes these coins so appealing. It's the history. The 1948 wheat penny is a relic of post-war America, a time when the nation was rebuilding, thriving, and entering a new era. These pennies were there in the pockets of working Americans, in the cash registers of small-town shops, and in the piggy banks of children saving their allowance. To hold a 1948 penny is to hold a piece of that history. And when that coin happens to be one of the rare errors, it becomes even more special. A small piece of metal that slipped through the cracks and survived decades to tell its story. There's also something poetic about error coins. They remind us that imperfection has value. In a mint where precision is everything and machinery is designed to produce flawless coins, the rare mistake becomes extraordinary. What was once considered a flaw is now celebrated, protected, and cherished. That's part of the magic of the 1948 wheat penny errors. They're beautiful accidents, and that uniqueness is what collectors can't resist. Auction houses have seen these pennies cross their floors and have watched in awe as bidding wars drive the prices higher and higher. Collectors with deep pockets know that securing one of these coins is like acquiring a masterpiece of art. It isn't just about owning copper with a misprint. It's about holding something that can't easily be replaced, something that only a handful of people in the world will ever have. That exclusivity fuels the excitement and ensures that the values remain sky-high. For the average person, though, the most exciting part of this story is the possibility of finding one. It's not a fantasy. Error pennies from 1948 do exist in circulation, tucked away in collections or hiding in old family coin jars. They might be sitting unnoticed in someone's drawer right now, waiting for the right person to uncover their secret. That's what keeps collectors, hobbyists, and even casual coin searchers motivated. Because you don't have to be a wealthy collector to stumble upon one of these treasures. You just have to be observant and a little lucky, so the next time you come across a wheat penny, take a closer look. Study the date. Check the design carefully for anything unusual, doubling on the letters, off-center strikes, or details that seem out of place. That tiny copper coin might not just be another relic from the past. It might be the key to unlocking a fortune, worth anywhere from $60,000 to $140,000. That's not just pocket change, that's life-changing money. What the 1948 1-cent wheat penny teaches us goes beyond coin collecting. It's a reminder that value isn't always obvious at first glance. Sometimes the most ordinary, overlooked things carry the greatest worth. It's a lesson about patience, attention to detail, and appreciation for history. And it's also about possibility, the idea that the next coin you find could change everything. Collectors will keep searching, auction houses will keep selling, and the legend of the 1948 era penny will keep growing. Because in a world overflowing with ordinary pennies, this small handful of mistakes stand out as extraordinary. They are the ones people dream of finding, the ones that make coin collecting a thrilling adventure. And they are proof that even the smallest coin can hold the biggest surprises. The story of the 1948 wheat penny is one of rarity, history, and the magic of imperfection. It continues to inspire and captivate, reminding us to always pay attention to the details. Because hidden in those details may be a penny worth of fortune, one that turns the ordinary into the extraordinary, and proves that even in the most unlikely places, treasures still exist.